follow my lead. You're right. This is FX Medicine. I'm Andrew Whitfield-Cook, and we're at the 2019 BioCeuticals Research Symposium. We're sitting here with Marcus Blackmore. How are you, Marcus?
I'm good.
Marcus, we've not just got this event on how we can help our patients experiencing that horrible journey through cognitive decline and including Alzheimer's, but indeed there's another event that's going to be held at the University of Technology Sydney, UTS.
Yeah, that's right.
Tell us a little bit about that and why.
Look, it came about, my foundation made a commitment donation to UTS for the research centre that does work with complementary and alternate medicine, and integrative medicine rather. Large part of that was to be about social work. Why do people go to naturopaths and so on?
Yep.
So that was something that really encouraged us to support. Anyway, at that meeting where we made the presentation, a guy walks up to me and said, "You don't know me, my name is Bryce Vessel, and I'm head of neuroscience here." Wonderful. I said, he said, I actually believe that nutrition has a significant role to play in the prevention and or the treatment of Alzheimer's. And I said to him, I said, "Well, I was trained as a naturopath." I said, "You're not telling me anything, you know." "Oh, okay." Anyway, we agreed that we'd go and meet up again after that function. So I went and had lunch with him one day. He told me it was one of the best lunches he's ever had in his life. I thought,
Good food.
I thought I was good, but I'm not that good. But the interesting thing was, when I thought about lunch with him, I agreed with most of the things he was talking about. He is a bit left field. So when he talks about to his colleagues, they don't agree with him. So that's why I had a nice lunch, because he had somebody that agreed with him, I suppose. Anyway, subsequently I went to the US and I went to a conference, complementary medicines and whatever, and I listened to Dale Bredeson. And I thought, God, this guy is singing off the same hymn sheet as what Bryce Vessel is. Comments like, Alzheimer's is the only disease that we've spent not tens but hundreds, if not billions of dollars with absolutely no results. And our whole focus in 30 years has been the amyloid theory of why Alzheimer's. It's not to say the amyloid theory is necessarily wrong, but what they're saying, it's not the cause. It's only symptomatic of the cause. Yeah. And so they've taken a different approach, and it's an unconventional approach. And unconventional medicine's in the firing line at the moment. So anyway, I took it on myself. I need to get these two guys together. They must come from the same church or something. Anyway, so I was able to do that, and I rang the BioCeuticals people here, and I said, we should get this guy to come to Australia for our annual conference. And they turned around and said, "Don't worry, Marcus, we've already had him signed up." So I thought, wow, that's amazing. So now here we are now, whatever it is, 6 months later, and we've got both these guys on the stage, if you like, at UTS on Monday night. And so I'm very excited about that. Where it'll lead us, I don't know at this stage, but I know that Bryce, for instance, would love to have a clinic. I mean, the UTS have already got a clinic for a traditional Chinese medicine. I don't think it's out of the question to have a clinic for cognitive decline, because what we do need, we need the data, and the data will come from things like that. So for me, it was just my foundation is sponsoring Monday night. It's not a BioCeuticals or a Blackmores thing. It's just a personal thing, and I just feel if you're in the space of people's health, I just saw this as an opportunity. Where it leads us to, I'm not sure.
But you've also got, let's say, the more orthodox neurologists and doctors coming on board with Dr. David Burke as well, haven't you? He's at St Vincent's?
Look, yes, from Bryce Douglas. Actually, Bryce Douglas, he's a practitioner in South Australia. Bryce Vessel was at the Garvan,
right,
which is attached to St Vincent's before he went to UTS. Yeah, we want to embrace everybody in this. It's not a bunch of naturopaths running off half cocked over here somewhere. It's some very capable people researching Alzheimer's and dementia. It's frightening. It is now the number one cause of death of women in Australia. So we've got a government for political reasons running around, or opposition, saying how much the hundreds of millions of dollars we're going to put into for cancer patients and things like that. But there's very little money goes into the cognitive decline area. There's some. There is a lot of people around the place doing work. But most of the work, if you were to put in an application to NHMRC, which is the repository of all, for the government, of all medical research dollars going out, and you didn't underpin your application with the amyloid theory, the hypothesis,
Yep.
you just won't get funded.
And yet we're seeing questions being raised in even high-ranking journals about the etiology of Alzheimer's disease. So it's the groundswell is already there.
The groundswell has started, there's no question. So now what we've got to do is change the way research is allocated so that these guys, the Bredesens of the world and the Bryce Vessels of the world, can actually conduct the research to justify the sort of treatments that Bredesen has written this book, The End of Alzheimer's. Now, he's not saying, I've got a cure for Alzheimer's. But what he is saying is, I can reverse cognitive decline. Wow. I mean, I'm worrying about my own cognitive decline. I might be one of his patients.
And you are?
No. See, Mark Donohoe is one of my doctors, and I said to him the other day, I said, Mark, I'm getting a bit forgetful. And I said, it's funny, I can't remember somebody's name and I should remember their name. And then 2 minutes later, I remember it. Maybe I've got early Alzheimer's. He said, you wouldn't remember it if you had Alzheimer's, so don't worry about it.
But we all go through that worrisome thing. And indeed, just today I did it with somebody that I've known for 15, 16 years. And right at that point, I could not remember her name. As you say, 2 minutes later you can.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you, what's your personal interest in cognitive decline and Alzheimer's? Is it just that you're worried about forgetting your keys?
For me, my wife thinks I'm getting forgetful.
No, she knows it.
So she knows what, and I am getting forgetful, and then is that just, it's like most health, I'm 74. My wife said, stop carrying on, you're not 40 anymore. And there is, I learnt this morning that your brain starts to decline after 30 or something. So maybe that's what's happening to me. Maybe it's just old age, because you're always trading off, I don't feel so well. And my wife would say, well, you're not 40 anymore, you're 70, sort of thing. Oh, okay, well, am I just unhealthy or am I just getting old? Maybe the answer is somewhere in the middle.
I think you're pretty healthy for 74, Marcus. So from this UTS event, what outcomes do you want? Obviously there's got to be something after that, something that comes out of this.
I think my interest, and others will run with this, like Bryce wants to establish for want of a better description, a community of people, as indeed these podcasts have a community, an amazing community of people now that look at these podcasts. Communities and platforms are the future of the business world. So hopefully we can create platforms and a community around this issue, and that will lead to better outcomes and research dollars being allocated to look at possibilities other than just the amyloid theory. And if I can contribute to that in any way, I'll feel good about it. That's all.
I'm going to do the dystopic question now, and that is, what if nothing changes? What's the worst thing that could happen? What if nothing changes? Where are we headed?
Well, that's the worst thing. If nothing changes, we'll just float along. But I think there's an opportunity for real change. As you already mentioned, there's a whole bunch of people around the place now saying, to quote Bryce Vessel, if you're a scientist and you've been doing the same thing for 30 years and you haven't got any results whatsoever, there's a fair chance you might start investigating other things. So It's an awareness program on Monday night. Unfortunately, we've underestimated the response. The university can take 500 people, and we've already got 250 people on the wait list. But we're going to look after them with a podcast and whatever. So even though they won't be in the audience, they'll get the video of the whole thing.
Well, it's obviously
they don't miss out. Yeah.
It's obviously of great need for not just our community, indeed our nation, indeed the world at large.
Yeah.
So, Marcus Blackmore, thank you so much for joining us and taking us through the UTS event that's going to be held on Monday, May the 6th.
I don't know.
2019.
Okay.
Thanks so much for joining us on FX Medicine.
Thank you.
This is FX Medicine. I'm Andrew Whitfield Cook.
That was great. Really good. Yeah, it looks really good. Okay. Love that.
Thanks, mate.
All right, great.